Good afternoon, Lakeside. It's great to see everybody. Just wanted to continue this week in the beginning and the kickoff of Holy Week for our live streams in dry places. And this is just something that we as church leaders and pastors at Lakeside want to continue throughout this time of quarantine and through the season of COVID-19 that we are all enduring together, to be able to just be an encouragement, hopefully be an encouragement to you as you work, as you rest, as you spend time with your family, as you trust God and pray. We just hope that these devotionals and the time in the Word, quick times in the Word, will just enrich you. So last Monday, I'm going to be with you every Monday, and Pastor Noah and Pastor Cole will be with you on Wednesdays and Fridays, but Mondays, my opportunity to share with you. And again, I'm going to come back to 1 John chapter 4, verses 17 through 18. We talked about the verse that says that there is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear. And there's a lot of things to be afraid of. There's so much uncertainty in especially weeks like these and circumstances like these. But we want to encourage all of you as God's people to be able to find and embrace and grow in God's perfect love for you and for us, knowing that that is what will cast out fear. And so with that thought, I was reading through Passion Week and the narratives surrounding Passion Week and the Holy Week. And I was in Luke chapter 22 earlier this week and even today. And verses 31 and 32 struck me. And it says that Jesus is talking to Simon Peter. It's right before Peter denies him. And Jesus declares that he will deny him later in verse 34. But verses 31 and 32, he says, Simon, Simon, behold, Satan demanded to have you, that he might sift you like wheat. But I have prayed for you, Jesus tells him. But I have prayed for you that your faith may not fail. And when you have turned again, strengthen your brothers. And it's such an interesting prayer. Jesus prays that Peter's faith would not fail, and that when he turned again, he would then be able to strengthen and encourage others. It reminds me of the verse in Hebrews chapter 7, verse 25, where Jesus, as the great high priest, is praying for us. He intercedes for us before God the Father. That's what makes him not only the better high priest, but the perfect high priest. And I too believe that Jesus is interceding for us now, praying for us like he did Simon Peter so many years ago, that our faith would not fail. I know our prayers for you as pastors is that your and I's faith through this time would not fail, but it would flourish. It would grow stronger, more robust, broader, deeper with Jesus. And he is doing the same thing before the face of God. He's interceding with the Father on our behalf that our faith would not fail. Such an amazing concept. Reading Matthew's account of the same story in Matthew chapter 26, and it's right as Jesus is telling them what's going to happen, and Peter and the other disciples in chapter 26 of Matthew's account and verse 35, all just, they have confidence, they have assurance, Jesus, we're not going to leave you, we're going to be there for you. And they all agree, it says in verse 35. But in just a few verses later, in Matthew chapter 26, verse 56, after Jesus is arrested in the garden, the narrator is very specific, and he says that all the disciples left him and fled. And it's such a powerful sentence, a powerful statement of how fear just came in that circumstance, clouded their view, clouded their judgment, and they leave their Savior. They abandon him. and Jesus is arrested then, and we know how the story goes. But the thought that I want to encourage you with today is this: that Jesus's prayers over our lives hold greater power than our failures or our fears. Let me say that again. Jesus's prayers over our lives right now, as he's interceding before the Father, his prayers over our lives holds greater power than our fears and our failures. Jesus, back in Luke, was praying for Peter that his faith would not fail. And he's talking about ultimately, Peter's faith would not fail, but the journey between Jesus's prayer and even all the way up to the crucifixion, Peter would fail. He would fail numerous times. And yet Jesus's prayer over him and his intercession for Peter was that faith would overcome his fear, that faith would overcome his failure. And we know the rest of Peter's story and what happened in his ministry, that God used him after Pentecost, and the New Testament church is pretty astounding. Jesus' prayers over Peter's life and over our lives hold greater power than our fears and our failures. I don't know where you're at today. I don't know what you're experiencing. I don't know what kind of emotions, what kind of fears, what kind of questions you have during this time. But I know the folks that I have talked to, the myriad of emotions and the myriad of expressions of fear are across the spectrum. And yet the truth of this passage and the truth of Jesus's interceding love and power is not only true for us today, but it is the deepest reality and the greatest expression of not only love, but the ability to cast out fear in a time where there's so much uncertainty. And so I want to close with a word of encouragement. This is 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7. And it says that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of self-control. And so I trust that this truth this live stream will meet you in a dry place today, wherever you're at. Whatever fears that we're facing because of all the uncertainty, because of quarantine, because of the economy, because of people dying, I pray that you would be encouraged that perfect love casts out fear. And even when we don't have it together, even when we're failing, even when we're fearful, Jesus's prayers over the lives of his people hold greater power than anything you or I could ever bring or fail to do. So, we love you. We're praying for you. Hit us up in the comments below if there's something that you're working through, want prayer for. We will pray for you. We are praying for you, and wanted to give you our love and encouragement this Monday morning, April 6th, 2020. This is our live streams in dry places. We love you. God bless you. See ya.